I would definitely suggest scaling back on the workout frequency and intensity, and resting more, making sure you're getting plenty of sleep, reducing your exposure to artificial light at night, making sure you get some bright light on your eyeballs in the morning, help reset the circadian clock, making sure you're eating enough, because if you're training at that level, another common problem is that people aren't actually getting enough calories to support their activity level. Maybe eat some extra protein to help with muscle recovery, and take it easy for a while, because your skin seems to be your barometer. A lot of us have a particular trouble spot, or maybe more than one trouble spot, that is, if we're open to it, that can become our teacher. So if for this guy, it sounds like it's his skin, and if the skin starts to break out and that happens persistently, then that's the body telling you too much. Something's not right. For other people, it's their gut. Still other people, it might be insomnia, and these are the barometers that we can use if we're open to and we're aware. We can use it as a way of making adjustments in our diet and lifestyle and supplement regimen to promote better health.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fascinating. Like you said, I think most people, if they look at things like acne or hair loss as a non-specific symptom of just your general health, they can track their health pretty well without getting tests done.
That's right. I mean, for years, one of the blessings of a chronic illness, if you're willing to look at it this way, is that it can be a powerful teacher. And for me, when I was sick for all those years, it became like my spiritual practice, essentially. That it was my body was so sensitive to changes in my life and my diet and my emotional, psychological state, and that I would get instant feedback on what I was doing, what I was thinking, how I was relating to myself, how I was relating to other people. And it was, it's a pain in the ass a lot. And it was often times where I wasn't interested in receiving that feedback. But it came anyways, and often would come pretty intensely. And I think at some point when I stopped struggling against that and stopped wishing that it wasn't that way, and stopped being bitter that it was that way, which took a while, I began to really be open to, listening on a deeper level and using those symptoms and signs as a teaching or a reminder, a really potent reminder that I'm off track. And even now, years later, when I'm not in the place that I was before, I'm probably more sensitive than a lot of people who didn't go through something like I went through, because it just so profoundly changed my system. And so if I start to get off track, and if I'm doing too much work and not doing my stress management and not spending enough time having fun and outdoors and things like that, then I'll start to notice some weirdness in my gut, or I'll start to develop some muscle fatigue, or maybe some difficulty sleeping, and that's that instant kind of reminder that I need to come back to the place that I know works for me.
Yeah, I think it kind of happens to all of us. That I actually just got a recent reminder of that. I've been pushing pretty hard for the last few months to do SCD lifestyle full time, and 2 months ago, right before Paleo FX, I had about 3 weeks of the worst GI issues I've had in a long time. It was like my old symptoms, but before I started any work on kind of recovering my health, kind of came back, and it was just because I was working 14, 16 hours, 6-7 days a week, and just wasn't doing the things that I needed to do. So it was a real good kick in the butt for me.
I mean, it does happen to most of us who've dealt with chronic disease, but there are actually a lot of people out there who appear to be able to get away with a lot. In other words, they don't have the blessing or the curse, depending on where how you're looking at it, of this kind of chronic illness type of symptom presentation. And so they don't have, the feedback is not as immediate for them, So they might be able to get away with months or even years of that kind of behavior, and then they have a heart attack and die, you know, or then they just, like, it can manifest in a really different way in different people. And that's why I do actually sometimes see the sensitivity that some people with illness have developed as a blessing. It's a little bit like the canary in the coal mine, you know, because I'm sure we all know these people who seem to be healthy, you know, relatively healthy in spite of like a really poor diet and hard lifestyle. And then all of a sudden, you know, something relatively tragic happens. Either they didn't get the signs, or the signs were coming, but they were subtle enough that they could be ignored. And I think if you have one of these things that can be extremely irritating and irksome, learn to use it as a guide and as a teacher and a reminder, because that's there's actually believe it or not, some good fortune that can come from that.
I think that's 100% how you have to think of it. I think that's the only way you get through to the other side. I don't think you can do it any other way.